After an off day on Monday, the Detroit Tigers kick off their biggest homestand of the season.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Tuesday, August 11th, almost said 12th for some reason, 2026. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, and that is, of course, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode brought to you by Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code Locked On to get $10 when you trade $10. The Detroit Tigers did not play on Monday, a much-deserved off day after a pretty rigorous second half up to this point, and the Tigers have been playing really, really good baseball. They have been one of the better teams in the American League. I mean, that's dating back to June 1st. Nonetheless, July 1st, where they grade out in most stats as one of the most productive teams in Major League Baseball. This week it's not for all the marbles, but it's for a lot of the marbles. Okay. You can, you look at your collection of marbles, you may be able to kick 2 or 3 of those to the side. Okay. And hold out hope. But this week is going to determine a lot. You have Cleveland for 3 games. Then you have the White Sox for 3 games. There's no off day in between, and all 6 games are at home. They enter this stretch 3.5 out of the American League Central and 1 out of the last AL wildcard spot. So this is what feels like, I said on yesterday's show, a pretty make or break week ahead for your Detroit Tigers. You sold at the deadline. I still think it's the right thing to do. I mean, that's a whole bag of worms, okay? And there's a lot of nuance to that conversation. If you're somebody that's like, hey, look, they're winning, imagine if they kept Skubal and Mize, that's totally fair. I'm not going to get super mad over that opinion. They are winning games and obviously would be better with those 2 guys in the lineup. I think given where they were at the deadline, the quote from Harris about it being irresponsible to not get a return for those guys is completely fair and justifiable. We also talked about at the deadline how selling did not automatically mean that this season was just going to be over and that they were playing really good baseball. And I think that's kind of the reason why, weirdly, I was okay with selling off the big pieces, was because the team was not going to get substantially worse. You didn't trade a single bat, and even the one I wanted them to trade was Gleyber, who's been hurt for most of the year anyway. That's not a monumental loss to the lineup card, just removing Gleyber from it. It's still pretty much the same team. And on the pitching side of things, you have 4 starters right now that you feel pretty good about. And then obviously the return of River Ryan, which was part of the Tarik Skubal trade, hopefully in the coming weeks. So you still can have a full rotation of guys that you really like and an offense that's pretty much the same. And you need to keep the ball rolling that's just where we're at, right? There, again, selling at the deadline was not a white flag. That's not what this entailed. It was asset management. And I think that it would be absolutely awesome for the Tigers to still make a run and make the postseason this year, because then they'd still be a playoff team and would be set up pretty darn nicely going forward. And if you really like Tarik Skubal that much and really want him back, well, then you'll be interested in the first talking point of today's off-day episode, which is Tarik Skubal. I can't escape it. I can't escape this conversation. I just want this to be over. I'm so exhausted. He's not even on the team anymore. We still have to talk about Tarik Skubal. He almost immediately says, even though he's a part of the Dodgers organization, that he loves the Tigers and is interested in a reunion this winter when he enters free agency. A few talking points I want to really articulate here. One, implying to his new team immediately after going there that he has pretty much zero interest in an extension before free agency is kind of funny to me. 2, Dodgers fans were not thrilled about the comments which he made, which also made me smile and giggle and kick my feet a little bit. 3, how dumb of me to assume that just because he was traded away, we would finally get to stop talking about him. And this storyline would finally go away and stop being a thorn in my side and be unbelievably obnoxious. No, even in Dodger blue, here we are on a Tigers off day still talking about it. My thoughts on the comment itself, I mean, that's great. It doesn't really change anything to me. For me. To me. Whatever. Look, I'd love to find out the Tigers were legitimately in the mix for Tarik Skubal's services this winter. I would love that because it would show a sign of aggression. It would show a sign of willing to spend like big, bring in big contract players and spend some money. It also, like I have always been in the camp dating back years now of they should just pay Tarik Skubal and keep him, right? He's one of the best pitchers in the planet still, even though he hasn't been as good as maybe his last 2 years. He's still one of the best pitchers alive and is coming off of a surgery. Like at full health, you know that he's one of the baddest dudes that's going to take a mound. So if they're in the mix, that's fantastic. I also think that if he actually wants $400+ million, the Detroit Tigers will not be in that mix. Once again, just because I said this when he was still on the team too, when he was making comments about it, just because Tarik Skubal says he wants something doesn't mean that actually like matters or is going to happen. So we'll see. I think Scott Harris's response to that was kind of humorous as well. Like he basically just turned it into an ad campaign to play for the Detroit Tigers, which like fair. I mean, he runs the team. That's a fair thing for him to do. It just made me laugh a little bit. He was like, well, I can't talk about like our actual plans and if we have interest in Skubal, but I will say that everybody that's ever played for the Tigers in my tenure here loves playing here. And he's not surprised at all that somebody left the team and wants to come back. And Jack Flaherty did that and et cetera, et cetera. So we will see what happens, man. I can't be bothered with this. I can be bothered with the conversation surrounding it. I can't be bothered with like the actual intent of the comments. I don't think it changes anything. I don't think he's going to sign with the Tigers this winter. I don't think he's coming back. But I guess if you were mad they traded him and really wanted them to just throw as much money as possible at him, then it sounds like that door has not closed just because they traded him. So we'll revisit it, I'm sure, again a million times before the winter and then again in the winter. Another interesting conversation surrounding the Tigers front office at the present moment is Jeff Greenberg's future with the team. We will talk about that right after this. First, I'm going to talk to you about our good friends over at Call Sheet. Trade on anything. Baseball season is here, and you can make baseball season more this 2026 calendar year on Call Sheet, America's #1 prediction market platform. You can trade on every single game. There is always so many. I guess like we're in the really fun part of the season, the post-trade deadline, where you know who the contenders are, you know who's in the mix, and every single game, especially for the American League, matters immensely. So you can trade and look at the matchups every single day. And if you take a team that has less than a 50% chance of winning, that then rather a $100 trade can give you a payout of obviously your money back, plus then over $100 on top of that. On Call Sheet, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. So download the Call Sheet app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10, KALSHI, Call Sheet. Trade on anything, 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Call Sheet products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see callsheet.com/regulatory. Also, got to talk to you about our new friends over at Dose. can we talk about one of the most underrated organs of your body? That is, of course, your liver. It's your body's filter, processing everything you consume and performing more than 500 functions a day. It's involved in things like energy production, digestion, fat metabolism, and vitamin storage. So you're doing a lot of work behind the scenes in your liver. That's why giving your liver daily support can be important. An important part of building healthy habits. Dose for Your Liver is a clinically backed liver health supplement designed to support daily liver function. Unlike other capsule or powders, Dose comes as a liquid 2-ounce daily shot that tastes like a fresh squeezed orange juice. It's zero sugar, zero junk, and zero calories, making it an easy addition to your daily routine. I'm a very routine-oriented person. I'm not kidding. I have like borderline the exact same thing for breakfast every single day. I do things at the same time every single day, and adding Dose to that routine is very easy because it takes 2 seconds and it doesn't add any calories or sugar onto my day. And then after it's done, I can just move on and have confidence that my liver is taken care of. So ready to give your liver the support it deserves? Head to dosedaily.co/LockedOnMLB or enter Locked On MLB to get 35% off your first prescription. Your body, first subscription rather, your body does so much for you. Let's do something for it. That's dosedaily.co/LockedOnMLB for 35% off your first month subscription. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. As always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping Game 1 against the Guardians and, of course, talking about any other storylines surrounding the Tigers organization. Also, change the show sheet mid-ad read there. That's a pro's pro right there. I don't know why it didn't switch over until 10 minutes in, but alas, we'll take it. One of the weird storylines, and I think weird is an appropriate word to use here, surrounding the Tigers and really just Ilitch Holdings in general over the last couple of weeks is the possibility of Jeff Greenberg becoming the current Tigers GM, becoming the general manager for the Detroit Red Wings. This is really fascinating to me. Greenberg's entire professional career was baseball up until about 2 or 3 years ago. And then the Blackhawks poached him away, right? He had a lot of ties with the Cubs organization. He'd worked in Chicago a lot. The Chicago Blackhawks then poach him away during like the peak of their rebuild. He's an associate GM, which is a hockey slut term for just like an assistant general manager. And then the Tigers poach him from the Blackhawks, right? And Scott Harris and Greenberg are friends. He brings him on board. He's the GM of the Detroit Tigers. But as we all know, anybody who's followed the Tigers in the Scott Harris era is aware, president of baseball operations ranks ahead of general manager. So even though Jeff Greenberg is the GM of our team, he is not the person calling the shots. He's more of a second in command, kind of right-hand man, if you will, to Scott Harris, who obviously runs the show. The appeal for him to go back to hockey is really makes a lot of sense for him. He has a lot of ties to hockey. As I mentioned, worked for the Blackhawks, also worked for some like lower affiliated hockey teams in his younger days. And also I think still works with some smaller hockey type of organizations. Obviously, again, has always been, until that Blackhawks job, has always, come up through the baseball system. But it's not as though he's completely unfamiliar with the NHL and the game of hockey. The Red Wings are also looking for a analytically minded GM, according to the Ilitch Holdings and the people leading kind of the search for the new Red Wings GM. And then very obviously, I think one of the biggest points is he would not have to move and he would be the top decision maker for the Detroit Red Wings, right? There's nobody ahead of him if he were to get that job for the Wings. He's also already getting paid by Ilitch, which I don't know if that like actually matters, for like payroll or whatever, and just like simplicity's sake. I would imagine it doesn't matter a whole lot, but that is worth kind of noting. It feels weird to me, admittedly, but I do think you can kind of squint and see the vision a little bit of why he's in the running. This was reported by Elliot Friedman, who is, for those, I also host Locked On Red Wings, if you're not familiar, me and Brian Fisher. And so if you're not a hockey person at all, Elliot Friedman is basically like the Jeff Passan of the NHL. He's the biggest hockey reporter, national hockey reporter on the planet, probably. And so like he has like a podcast and puts out reports all throughout the offseason, and just said he's not a favorite, speaking of Greenberg, but he is a candidate. And if I was a betting man, I would say that he probably just stays with the Tigers, and that's that. But it also does feel like, again, you can do the mental gymnastics and kind of see that there is a chance of that happening. If it was to happen, I don't think too much would change on the Tigers side of things, outside of just like they would have to promote either somebody from within or maybe get some fresh blood and bring a new perspective to the front office to fill that role. But again, Harris calls the shots here anyway. So it's going to be a big story if it ends up being legitimate. But I think the most noteworthy thing, and the reason I bring this up is, like from the Tigers perspective, we got like all calendar year to figure out what the front office is going to look like in 2027. The Red Wings do not have the same calendar as the Tigers. The Red Wings start training camp in like 3 weeks and start preseason games in the month of September. They don't have a GM, and their captain has demanded a trade. They need to figure out who's going to run the show. So I bring it up today just to say, like, A, these rumors are out there, and B, if it was to happen, it would be soon. It would not be like, oh, he can play out the rest of the Tiger season, as like they would lose him immediately and he would go. And I just, that it's a really fascinating storyline to me. So something to keep tabs on. Something else to keep tabs on within the Tigers organization is the success of some top prospects for the Tigers as of late. Kind of one of the big storylines that we'll lead off with here is Josue Briceño being promoted to AAA. He is healthy and he is mashing the baseball. I truly think that there is a real argument that once Clark loses prospect status, the number one prospect in the Tigers organization is either Zaire Hope, who they just acquired for Tarik Skubal, or Josue Briceño. Like, I truly think that he is that level of hitting talent. I think that there's also a real chance with this move that he is in Detroit at some point in the 2027 season, assuming there is a normal 2027 season, which is a massive assumption at the present moment. But for the sake of just this conversation, this is a guy with raw power that is through the roof. We're talking 65 grade. I mean, even I think if he mashes in AAA, you might even see some people start flipping him to a 70 grade raw power. Does he stick at catcher? I don't think so. Is he going to be a Gold Glover at first base? I also don't think so. Does he have 40-plus home run potential? Yes. He's also a career 275 hitter in his entire minor league career, a walk rate that is consistently around 12%, if not higher, and a K rate that has never gotten significantly over 20%. There's a lot of nuance with minor league levels, and certain levels, play certain ways, and certain talent levels work at certain levels of the minor leagues. All of that is very, very fair. But these are really good numbers for many years, a handful of years now. And he is a really, really good hitter. And if he crushes the ball in Toledo quickly, like the rest of this year, and then maybe the start of next year, I mean, we could be talking about him making the roster as an offensive weapon, at some point in the 2027 season. I mean, heck, man, he has. Did I write his stats down here? I don't think I did. He's played in I think it's less than 20 games at the AA level this year. He missed the first, half to 60% of the season with a wrist injury. He's hit 8 home runs in 17 games or something ridiculous. He's a monster, and I am very, very excited to see how he continues to progress through the Tigers system. Few more names I want to highlight here before we preview the week ahead, and obviously game 1 against Cleveland. We'll do that right after this. First, though, I'm going to talk to you about our good friends over at Stance, the official sock partner of Major League Baseball. Stance knows greatness isn't built in a single moment. It's earned over time through consistency, preparation, and showing up every day. That's why each week we recognize one player whose performance embodies those same qualities. This week's everyday icon is Jackson Jobe. Now, Troy Melton had the start of the weekend, and I don't want to take anything away from Melton, but how good Jobe looked in his first start back from Tommy John, not having pitched in over a year, and just the high ceiling type of player that we all believe Jackson Jobe to be has me really excited. And I think that there is it really is going to be fun to watch him pitch the rest of 2026, have a normal offseason, and then hopefully a full healthy season in 2027. The Everyday Icon is presented by Stance. Check out the Icon collection from Stance, premium comfort, performance, and durability designed for whatever your day brings. Use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for 20% off of your purchase. Stance, the official sock partner of Major League Baseball. Learn more at stance.com. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. So a few more players I want to talk about in the Tigers minor league system before we move on to our preview here. One is Cameron Fluke, who was the Tigers' first round pick this year. He is going to pitch this season by several reports, which is fascinating to me. That almost never happens really across baseball these days, and especially in the Scott Harris era. Drafted pitchers almost never play professional baseball in their draft year because they have already pitched a full season and then stopped and then gotten drafted. And why would you work them back up again just to throw? But Fluke is a unique case because he did not pitch a full season in college this year due to an injury at the start of this season's campaign. So really cool from a fan perspective just to get kind of a little bit of immediate returns and see him right away. Zaire Hope, obviously a lot of eyes are going to be on him. He's gotten off to a slow start in his Tigers career. He's also played 5 games. I am so tired of seeing everybody be like, wow, this guy sucks. Like, we traded Skubal for this, whatever. He has played in 5 Major League Baseball games. Relax, okay? He also hit a massive home run to center field earlier over the weekend. He's made some really solid plays in the outfield as well defensively. Got an outfield assist from the corner at one point. He's going to be fine. He just got traded. He's 20 years old and was a part of the biggest trade of the deadline. If he's in AAA by next season, it's a win for the Tigers. It's all good. The other player that was a part of that trade was Brady Smith, who made his Tigers affiliate debut. Goes 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, and a home run against. I think we saw both sides of the coin here with Brady Smith. You saw, if you watch this outing back, you see the stuff is really good, to be honest. And it's very apparent. This is a mid to even high 90s fastball, wipe out breaking balls that move a ton. I compare him. I am not comparing him in the sense of what I expect him to be in his major league career or even like stuff 1-for-1. Okay. Jackson Jobe had like top 3 overall pick out of high school caliber stuff. Brady Smith is almost in his mid-20s in high single A. Okay. I'm not comparing them. The only thing I think is similar is the fact that when Jobe first started his professional career, you saw a lot of swing and miss and incredible stuff, but also a lot of command issues. And then he locked in and he turned into a guy in the lower levels of the minors that didn't walk anybody kind of as he moved up. And I think Smith just has to find that balance of yes, your stuff is incredible and it moves a lot and you can throw hard, but you also have to throw the ball in the zone or else just nobody's going to offer and you're going to walk a lot of guys. So I think that this was kind of the perfect introduction for him, and it's really encouraging. And again, he has fantastic stuff to work with. There's a lot of swing and miss in his arm, but there's certainly work to do as well of just what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, like corral it. You have to rein it in. You have to be able to command it and throw it anywhere near the zone, or else it's not going to be effective. We saw that with Alex Lang and Gregory Soto and a lot of guys kind of that have done that over the years. Injury update, Winslow Perez playing games in Toledo. We talked about that earlier in the week. Verlander throwing. I have no idea. We'll see. Brant Herter starting a rehab assignment as well, though. Adding Brant Herter to this bullpen down the stretch would do wonders. Like, he can replace either Drew Summers or Emmanuel DeJesus, whoever you really feel is the better option. But, like, Tyler Holton's been shoving. We talked about that on yesterday's episode. Herter is a massive piece that has been really effective for the Tigers for the better part of 2 years. And for him to be added to this bullpen, I don't think that add can really be understated. I'm very excited about the prospect of inserting him into the pen down the stretch here when the Tigers are trying to win as many games as possible. So we'll keep an eye on that. Okay, here we go. I mean, Cleveland. Oh, Cleveland. I truly have nothing bad to say about the Guardians fan base, or I mean, like, they talk smack to me, but like every team in the AL Central does. And I think it's all fun and games of just like AL Central rivalry stuff. They have been the Detroit Tigers boogeyman for the better part of, I mean, almost a decade now. And the Tigers finally seemed to get over that hump last year when they blew the biggest divisional lead in the history of baseball to lose the division, but then faced Cleveland in the first round and won the series in Cleveland on their field. But it doesn't just like evaporate all your problems. You got to prove it again and again and again. And it's fascinating. Cleveland, this is at Comerica Park. Cleveland went 10-15 in the month of June, 12-13 in the month of July, and now are 2-6 in the month of August. That's sub 500 for 3 months in a row. We're 8 games into August. Who knows? But like, they clearly are not playing their best ball. The Tigers are also currently half a game above them in the standings as I record this Monday afternoon. And the Guardians bought at the deadline. You look at their runs against in August, and it's not normal Cleveland production. They had one shutout win on August 2nd. Besides that, this is their runs against by game. 12, 6, 6, 13, 2, 6, 5. So since July 1st, this is now not August 1st, but July 1st, they have a bullpen ERA of almost 4.20, which isn't horrible, but it's certainly not the standard we're used to in Detroit from seeing out of the Guardians organization. Meanwhile, the Tigers have the best starting pitcher ERA in baseball since July 1st and a bullpen ERA that's under 3.30. Offensively, since July 1st, Cleveland has been exactly league average in the eyes of weighted runs created plus. Stephen Kwan has turned his season around and been really hot in that stretch. Chase DeLauder continues to have a fantastic rookie campaign, really talented young player there. Travis Bazana also, I mean, obviously a very highly drafted player in Cleveland's organization. He has been solid. He hasn't been setting the world on fire, but he certainly has not been awful either. On the flip side, Jose Ramirez, one of the most prolific Tigers killers of really my lifetime, has been ice cold for the better part of a month. So naturally, he will get right in this series and absolutely destroy us. And Joe Adell, one of the pieces they bought at the deadline to add to their outfield, has done essentially nothing since coming over and joining the Cleveland organization. Game 1 is a huge game for this series. I know that's very cliche and easy to say, but it's Tanner Bybee against Drew Anderson. Bybee has faced the Tigers twice already in 2026. He went 8 innings, 1 run in his first outing and 7 innings, 2 runs in his second. He's really good, and he has been pitching well against the Detroit Tigers for pretty much his entire Major League career. He's a 3.85 ERA, a really good cutter that gets a lot of whiffs, a really good sinker that gets a lot of ground balls, a changeup against left-handed hitters that's very effective. We know the drill here. We have faced Tanner Bybee more than it feels like any other pitcher in the majors since he made the major league, since his debut. Bybee's been pitching well against Detroit for a while, and unfortunately, the Tigers' counteroffer to that is Drew Anderson. I think the plan will be similar to last time Drew Anderson pitched, where you're only expecting him to go 4-ish innings, give or take an inning on either direction. And you're really just hoping he doesn't get rocked. And then you can hand it over into the bullpen. Maybe you get Emmanuel DeJesus, who has been good. Maybe Ty Madden, who's been really good. Some of those longer relievers. And you kind of piece together a start here with some pitching chaos. I think EDJ, Emmanuel DeJesus, might be a legitimate option here because a lot of Cleveland's best hitters are lefties. And so that is a way to kind of nerf their highest producers and a guy that can go multiple innings in doing so. The offense for the Tigers, obviously they've been doing well as of late. This weekend against the Giants, maybe not as much, but still put up an 8 spot or a 7 spot, whatever it was on Saturday. You just really don't want this to be a dud when you're really, really desperate for wins any way you can get them in a massive series against a team that is neck and neck with you in the standings. Because if you lose this game, then you kind of have to win the next 2 to make up for it. So a massive series that kicks off a massive week. Phil Comerica Park. It's going to be fun. I know so many people that are going to games this week. I'll probably be down there at some point. This is what it's all about, man. This is what it's all about. It's all about meaningful games in August and September. And it's been a really effed up road to get here, but they have given us meaningful games in August. So let's have some fun. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day, and we will be back tomorrow. All right. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.